want to welcome you to tonight's Finance Committee meeting for April the 8th, 2024. Before we get into tonight's business, if you'll stand, we have our invocations led by Council Member Alex Reynolds, followed by the flag salute.
Please bow your head. Heavenly Father, please forgive us of our sins. Lord, please bless the city of Muskogee and our citizens. Please guide our hearts and actions today as we go about doing the business of the city. Please bless our outgoing city councilors, all county and state officials who are leaving their offices, and also please watch over and bless the new elected city, county, and state officials as they come into office. Father, please watch over our city and our county. Help us in these trying times ahead. We've got a very interesting election year ahead of us. Please watch over and guide us through these troubled times and bring us your many blessings. Thank you, and help us watch over and guide the city. In Jesus Christ's name we pray.
Amen. Amen. Attention, salute, pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Finance Committee, agenda item number 1, please.
Consider approval of Finance Committee minutes of March 11, 2024, or take other necessary action.
After reviewing the minutes, are there additions to our minutes?
Move for approval.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve our Finance Committee minutes. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Patrick Hill.
Yes.
Erling Boyd Craig.
Yes.
Shirley Hilton Flannery.
Yes.
Tracy Hughes. Tracy McGee.
Yes.
Alex Reynolds.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Item number 1 passes. Item number 2.
Consider approval of resolution number 2980, declaring items of personal property presently in the possession of the city of Muskogee to be surplus to the needs of the city of Muskogee, and authorize the city manager or his designee to offer for sale or dispose of the same, all as per the attached list, or take other necessary action.
Yes, our treasurer is not here to address this. Mr. Coleman, would you like to do that on his behalf?
Sorry, Mr. Manager, I'm just chatting. On a regular basis, the city goes through all of the items that are in the surplus list, gathers them up, creates this list, and asks the council to pass a resolution that will allow us to move forward with a public auction of those items. This list includes several items from many different departments across the city. We ask your approval for us to move forward with that.
Any questions for Mr. Coleman? We have a motion.
Move for approval. Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Patrick Hale.
Yes.
Erling Boyd Craig.
Yes.
Shirley Hilton Flannery.
Yes.
Tracy Hughes. Tracy McGee.
Yes.
Alex Reynolds.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Item number 2 passes. Item number 3, please.
Consider approval of change order number 1 for US 62 and Country Club Signalization Project number 2023004 with TLS Group Incorporated in the amount of $22,715.32 for quantity overruns, or take other necessary action.
Ms. Reeves.
The change order for this project was reviewed and approved by Webb Stewart, the engineer of record on the project. Staff also reviewed and approved the change order. Staff does recommend approval, and I would be happy to answer any questions.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve this agenda item. Any further discussion?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
Mr. Reeves, when do we think that project will be completed?
The last remaining element of that project is permanent connection of the electrical system. And there is a process that we got to go through for the city to get that done. I anticipate that happening within the next couple of weeks. But the project is, the lights are functioning properly, and we are very happy with them.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Patrick Hale.
Yes.
Erling Boyd Craig.
Yes.
Shirley Hilton Flannery.
Yes.
Tracy Hughes. Tracy McGee.
Yes.
Alex Reynolds.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Item number 3 passes. Item number 4, please.
Consider the purchase of 2023 Caterpillar 303.5 CR mini excavator for the Parks and Recreation Department in the amount of $66,950, utilizing Sourcewell cooperative purchase pricing, or take other necessary action.
Mr. Ewing.
Good evening. In fiscal year '24, a new excavator was budgeted for the Parks and Recreation Department, and the department would like to purchase a 2023 Caterpillar 303.5 from Warren Cat in the amount of $66,950, with all the standard equipment and the additional features of hydraulic quick coupler, a thumb, an 18-inch bucket, and an angle blade for trenches and grading. So the unit's offered to the city under Sourcewell cooperative purchase pricing for a total discount of $20,366. And the optional extended warranty of 84 months or 5,000 hours at $1,780 was also included in the price. So the purchase amount of $66,950 is funded in our capital outlay account, and staff would recommend approval for the purchase price of $66,950.
Move for approval. Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Patrick Hale.
Yes.
Herman Boyd Craig.
Yes.
Shirley Hilton Flannery.
Yes.
Tracy Hous.
Yes.
Tracy McGee.
Yes.
Alex Reynolds.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Item number 4 passes. Item number 5, please.
Consider approval to apply for and accept the 2024 Attorney General's Safe Oklahoma Grant in the amount of $17,600, or take other necessary action.
Chief Tiki.
Yes, this is the one of our grants that we applied for and was accepted to purchase 2 drug sniffers, which is basically allows us to detect drugs without having to put our hands on them through plastic bags or boxes, whatever the case may be. And it's something we received a grant for, and we're ready to move forward with it.
Move for approval.
We have a motion and a second to approve this agenda item. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Patrick Hale.
Yes.
Herman Boyd Craig.
Yes.
Shirley Hilton Flannery.
Yes.
Tracy Hous.
Yes.
Tracy McGee.
Yes.
Alex Reynolds.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Item number 5 passes. Item number 6, please.
Discuss and take possible action related to a forensic audit of the city of Muskogee, or take other necessary action.
Councilman McGee.
Yes, this is my agenda item, and I bring it back before this council before I go. This is also, the people is asking for this. And so I ask this council once again to consider what they're asking. You are elected by the people to serve them, and when they ask you for a forensic audit, I don't think that you guys should ignore what they're asking of us. So I put that on the motion for a vote tonight, and that is my motion.
Have a motion on the floor. Do we have a second, or do we have any questions, comments?
I'd like to make a comment. When citizens speak out, it's for a reason. I think that some folks may be a bit confused about some of the issues surrounding what a forensic audit is, when and how. We have a assistant city manager that's an accountant and did this kind of auditing. Knows it inside out. I would be willing, I'd work it out with Councilor McGee, for her to pick 8 people, or for them to vote on 8 people, or what have you, citizens group, to meet with me and the assistant city manager, if we can, or somebody from our auditing team, and we'll set up a date, and then we can talk and we can educate, we can learn. There's a lot of things that I can learn from people, so I'm always eager to learn. I suspect, and my vote tonight will be no, that we consider a forensic audit. It's not the right, it's not the thing to do. It's not pragmatic, it doesn't make any sense to me. But I don't want to leave these people hanging out there, and I don't want these people to think that we're not going to address what their concerns are or their needs are. And I've not been able to wrap around my head exactly what is the problem or what department may have the problem or what have you. But having said that, if Councilor McGee would help us with that, we'll work out a time, we'll get the people there, and then maybe we can all learn something, and maybe not, but I think we can all learn something about what a forensic audit ask is, about what the cost of a forensic audit is, and other details. I personally have no problem if there is an issue to look into auditing a department in the city, and if there's an issue with every single department in the city, to audit every single department in the city. But right now, I don't see those issues, and nobody, I've pleaded with somebody to tell me what the issue is. And the best I've gotten, which isn't good, but the best I've gotten is, well, it'll be a fresh start. After every one of our audits, it's a fresh start. So if you don't mind.
I don't mind, Patrick. I
Thank you,
appreciate.
Counselor.
Thank you, Patrick. I appreciate you, Mayor, for stepping up and at least open the door for an opportunity to have discussion, and I'll take you up on that offer, sir.
And I'd love to, thank you.
Thank you, Patrick.
Councilor McGee has a motion on the floor. Gonna make a second call. Is there a second? Make a third call. Is there a second to Councilor McGee's motion? Finding none, item dies because of the lack of a motion. That is our final item for the Finance Committee, so this meeting is adjourned.
Then I'd like to open tonight's Public Works Committee meeting for February 2024. Item number 1, please.
Consider approval of Public Works Committee minutes of March 11th, 2024, or take other necessary action.
I'm going to make a recommendation that we table this because the Public Works minutes wasn't included in the packet. It was the purchasing committee minutes that was included in the packet. So, for ours over here anyway, so I know that we didn't have a chance to review it. So, a motion be to table to the next Public Works meeting.
So moved.
Second. Have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Patrick Carroll.
Yes.
Berlin Boyd.
Yes.
Shirley Hilton Flannery.
Yes.
Tracy Hughes.
Yes.
Tracy McGee.
Yes.
Alex Reynolds.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Vernon Coleman.
Yes.
Item passes. Item number 2, we're going to strike that from the agenda today. I do know that we had 2 citizens signed up to speak for this item. They did not have a chance, but Mr. and Mrs. Walker, the meeting should move relatively quickly. City staff will be more than happy to meet with you guys as soon as the meeting's over. Is that okay, Mr. King? Item number 3, please.
Consider a recommendation to the City Council for Ordinance 4230-A requesting the annexation of the John T. Griffin Industrial Park as I-2 heavy industrial located within Section 10, Township 14 North, Range 18 East, or take other necessary action.
Mr. King.
Ordinance 4230A is the byproduct of Resolution 2976 that was passed by the Council on March 25th, 2024 to begin the annexation process of the property south and surrounding John T. Griffin Industrial Park. The Planning and Zoning Commission heard this item at the special call meeting on April 3rd, 2024 and recommended approval. And this is this body's time to also take action and recommend approval if that be the wish of the body. Staff does recommend approval of the ordinance to the City Council. I'm going to take any questions.
Thank you, Mr. King.
I have a question. Mr. Chairman, in the language as it reads, does that cover all of the properties that we need to have annexed to satisfy the need of industrial development?
Yes.
Okay, I just want to be sure, because at one point I thought it might have read like it was one block and not the entire area that we needed to have annexed. I just want to be sure that that's what that is.
So, Mayor, if I may, Mr. Chair, this is the property that the port currently owns, and that is the property that they have requested be annexed. There may be future areas that the port doesn't own or are not contiguous that can't be annexed at this time, but at this time, this is inclusive of the property that the port owns that we are wanting, and they are wanting to annex at this time.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes. Any further discussion? Entertain a motion.
Move for approval.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. No further discussion, roll call please.
Patrick Hale.
Yes.
Arlen Boyati Craig.
Yes.
Shirley Hilton Flannery.
Yes.
Tracy Hughes.
Yes.
Tracy McGee.
Yes.
Alex Reynolds.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Martin Coleman.
Yes.
Item passes. Item number 4, please.
Receive report on the Azalea cleanup event that took place March 20th through March 23rd, or take other necessary action.
Yeah, before Samantha Henderson gives her PowerPoint that she's put together to reflect upon the event, I just want to recognize the Public Works Department. The entire department stepped up. We had to move this event from the landfill, taking in the citizens' debris down to our material yard. We set up multiple lanes. The traffic department organized a nice approach to the dump site. The street department stepped up. Almost the entire street department worked it. And we were able to take in quite a bit of trash, which Samantha's going to tell you about. Environmental Control set up the brush and limb site out at Hatbox Field. They got the site ready. It was wet out there, and they got it prepared and took in quite a bit of brush out there, and we've also almost got it disposed of already. I would also like to recognize former Mayor Bob Coburn. It's his energy that he brought, which I call the shot of steroids to the program, really put it up on another level. And I really, really think that was great. And then Mayor Coleman, thank you for continuing to support that event. So, Samantha?
Thank you. Okay, so our Azalea cleanup took place, as you remember, March the 20th through the 23rd. And as Mike said, it was a very successful, detailed event this year, so it was a little bit unique. But I have happy news. I came to you the week before the cleanup and expressed to you that I really wanted to hit 1,200 volunteers. Well, guess what? We hit it. I'm so excited. So not only did we hit 1,200 volunteers, we got 1,214. So that was a little bit better, but we had 71 groups that signed up. And I just want to say thank you again to Tara for all of her help with the advertising. And thank you to all of you to help spread the word and help recruit volunteers. It really meant a lot, and I really appreciate your support. Also was excited that Channel 8 did a story on us the week before, and they actually sent a TV crew down and was out filming one of our groups cleaning up the first day of the event. So it's always nice to have all these people to help make it successful. We had over 700 bags of trash collected. I have various pictures throughout here that are actual pictures that my guys during the cleanup took and sent to me. We actually had 634 bags of trash, which is a little bit more than what we had last year. This was a little impressive. If you ever want to know what 700 tires looks like, this is what 700 tires look like, which is actually 300 more than what we collected last year during the 4-day event. Okay, we had 452 loads of brush taken to the brush and limb site. In comparison to last year, we had 187 last year. So we had quite a bit more taken this year. We had 1,200 loads of trash accepted this year, and it took 324 dump truck loads to take and haul them from the material yard out to the landfill. And last year we had 836, so just kind of comparison, we had 1,200 this year. We had 6 illegal dump sites cleaned up, and according to Jason, one of them was pretty massive. And we had 16 parks cleaned up. This is Elliott Park with the Girl Scout group and the Oklahoma School for the Blind on King Park here. We had the Centennial Trail and several miles of the Centennial Trail and several of the school grounds cleaned up with the surrounding areas. And I just wanted to throw in some pictures that they sent because I want you to see that it's not all work, it's fun too. The camaraderie between these groups, it shows the love that Muskogee has all the residents that come and take time to volunteer their free time to clean up for the Azalea cleanup. So I just wanted to kind of show you that we have this first picture. This is the Camp family. It's just individual group families. Then we have the Exchange Club in the middle and the Rotary Club on the right. We have the Oklahoma School for the Blind on the left, Hilldale School in the middle, and the First United Methodist Church on the right. And then we have another church, it's New Hope on the left, Jackson Hewitt in the middle, and then Herring-Shaw Waste Management on the right. So again, you can see that these people love Muskogee and that they're really interested in coming and make sure Muskogee looks beautiful before the Azalea cleanup. And they can have a little bit of fun doing it in the process. And then, of course, here are our sponsors again for this year. Love Bottling for giving us all of our beautiful banners that were displayed through the city. Keep Oklahoma Beautiful and the Oklahoma Great American Cleanup provided all of our reflective vests, gloves, and our trash bags. A More Beautiful Muskogee was gracious enough to give us money again to purchase scribers again this year. And then, of course, Leisure Way Laundry and then the city for all the work that they do. So specifically, I wanted to focus on city because Mike hit it. This is the first place that I've ever worked in that has such an awesome family feel to it. To have all the divisions in Public Works to come in and work together to make this event run smooth. And if you were down there and you've seen any of it, you've seen it happen. And I just want to say thank you to all the city workers and all the volunteers to help make this successful. Thank you.
Great job.
Thank you very much. We are striking number 5 from the agenda. Item number 6, please.
Consider approval of amended council policy 3-3-3, vacation leave policy, or take other necessary action.
Here, members of the council. This is just a housekeeping mistake. The last time the vacation policy was presented, a word was left off. We're adding the word forfeited back to maxed out accruals, and then to follow in line with our past and current practices. So, if you have any questions, staff recommends approval.
Second. Have a motion, a second, any further discussion, any questions for the city? Roll call, please.
Patrick Kell?
Yes.
Carmen Boyd Craig?
Yes.
Shirley Hilton Farmer?
Yes.
Tracy Hughes?
Yes.
Tracy McGee?
Yes.
Alex Reynolds?
Yes.
Jamie Stout?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed?
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman?
Yes.
Item passes. We do have one signed up to speak today, so I'll call your name, and you have 3 minutes. Councilor McGee.
Tracy McGee, I just want to say thank you to the citizens of Muskogee for allowing me to serve for 4 years. Thank you.
With that, that is tonight's public works meeting.
We will now call to order the special call meeting for the Muskogee City Council for April 8th, 2024. Item number 1. I'm sorry. Roll call.
Mayor Marlon Coleman?
Here.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed?
Here.
Jamie Stout?
Here.
Alex Reynolds?
Here.
Tracy McGee? Here. Tracy Hughes?
Here.
Shirley Hilton Flannery? Carleen Boyd Craig? Patrick Kell?
Here.
Let me say in advance and going into the agenda that we want to give a big thanks to all of the sponsors, Port Muskogee, Visit Muskogee, for helping to host this last weekend's Bass Nation Tournament qualifier number 2 that was held at Three Forks Harbor. Nearly 400 anglers and their families were here in Muskogee, and certainly we are grateful for the opportunity to have served those individuals and for them being here. So thank you very much. Item number 1.
Receive presentation relating to the proposed tax increment districts of the city of Muskogee and Muskogee County and take other necessary action.
Mr. Miller.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. The Port Muskogee, working with city and county officials, have identified prospective industrial development opportunities that will create new jobs and bring economic benefit to the city of Muskogee and Muskogee County. However, certain critical infrastructure improvements to roads, utilities, and rail are necessary to allow the development to move forward. On October 9th of this body, the City Council voted 8-0 to appoint a TIF review committee to make findings and a recommendation on the proposed project. The council designated Mayor Coleman as chair of the TIF committee, and the committee has met at least 3 times since then, for each of which was just a couple weeks ago on March 15th. They did make a recommendation to include those TIF districts. The council also voted at that time to hire Mr. Nails and his company to guide us through this process. And so, Mayor, I'll turn it over to you to talk about what the TIF committee's findings were and proceed.
Thank you. So after I'm done, someone will help Mr. Nate clean up the PowerPoint that he lost just now. We had the opportunity to visit as a joint TIF committee with the City of Muskogee officials, as well as those officials from the county. Commissioner Payne is there tonight. I don't know if there are any other commissioners here tonight, but we want to recognize you as well. It was a wonderful opportunity for us to sit down and talk about what needed to be done in order to develop Southside Industrial Park for development. We had complete unanimity with the taxing entities, particular interest, the superintendent of Fielddale Schools, Dr. Eric Puckett. We wanted to be certain that whatever we did moving forward, that those individuals were completely satisfied, because at the end of the day, it's them who are bearing the brunt of whatever we discuss when it comes to TIF. And so they were satisfied, I was satisfied. I think that the way the numbers are going to pan out in terms of it not being as long as people had anticipated are going to be well received by this council as well as by the voters, that we are determined to be certain that we have the capacity to attract new industries to Muskogee. So having said that, I believe we're ready for Mr. Ellis.
Yes, and I believe he's going to give a presentation that may enlighten us on the next 3 items as well. So go ahead.
Yes, so on your agenda after this presentation, there's 3 separate public hearings. It's all kind of tied together, so that's kind of the reason between the county and the city, we did kind of a joint review committee to look at both project plans and the creation of a TIF district by the county on a parcel that's outside the city limits. The city can only create a TIF district on land that's within its city limits, so there's also a creation of a TIF district within city limits. And then there's also, it's kind of almost an administrative cleanup, there's an existing TIF that's outside the city limits, so it's a county TIF that did not come to fruition, and so it makes sense kind of in this context as this process is going through to go ahead and terminate that, which will clear the way potentially for future projects. Not related to either of these 2 projects, but potential other projects that could potentially be moving forward at some point in the future. So with that said, the first question that we come to a lot of times is, what is a TIF district? So a tax increment financing district, or a TIF, is an economic development tool that's been established within the Oklahoma Constitution and by the state legislature and statute. The Local Development Act is what we call that in Title 62, Section 850 and following. And what it allows a city or a county to do is to identify a specific area for future development and to capture the increment of new tax revenues that's generated as a result of that development, and to utilize that revenue stream to help offset costs that are related to making that development move forward. So it's kind of a back-end investment. The revenue stream comes after things are put in place, but we use a TIF as a tool to basically create that future revenue stream to help offset those costs. It's created by a city ordinance or a county resolution after the completion of a process. And if we conceptualize what is a TIF district, we have an existing tax base. Sometimes if the property is privately held, it's going to have a value on there, and they're paying taxes. If it's held by the city, as in the case of the Southside Industrial Park, or the municipal authority actually is the owner. In the case of, I think the property we're talking about, the county TIF, is actually owned by the Port Authority. It is different property from what you talked about moments ago relative to potential annexation. So in those instances, the current value of that property is basically zero. It's not generating any tax revenue. The idea is that we want to cause development, but whatever the existing value is on that property, that gets protected. So if we created a TIF, and we've done other TIFs here, we're in the city where we've had existing property values, whatever that existing value was is identified as a baseline value, and then that base value continues to accrue taxes to the taxing entities. It doesn't get captured. It's only the new dollars, or hence the increment of new development. So we see an existing base, we have development, you see that incremental tax that starts to grow over time as that value increases. And then when the TIF ends, we have a new higher enhanced tax base, at which point all of that new tax revenue is going to all the different taxing entities. So the process that we go, we have a determination of eligibility. In this instance, with respect to both of these TIF districts, they're already within an identified enterprise area as identified by the state. So that's kind of an automatic qualifier, but there are other ways to potentially qualify if necessary. A TIF district can last up to 25 years. It doesn't have to go that long, but statutorily that's how long it can go. It can capture any of the potential local tax revenue sources up to 100%. So that could be ad valorem tax, that could be sales tax, it could be hotel tax, and again, that existing baseline tax is not affected. We establish specific boundaries, and there's two important terms. There's the increment district, so that's the area where new tax revenue is actually going to be captured. And then there's a much larger area that we talk about that's called the project area. And that's a larger area that just designates where project-related activities might be going on. So for instance, there's infrastructure projects. A lot of the infrastructure improvements may be outside the boundaries of the actual increment district, although some may be inside. So we create a more expansive project area just to make sure that we have everything that's going on relative to this is within that area. We identify the projects, related infrastructure improvements that are necessary to support, and then whatever the proposed allocation of TIF revenues. And all of that comprises what we call a project plan. So here we actually have two separate project plans, one for the city TIF that's in Southside Industrial Park, and the other for the county TIF that's over in the John T. Griffin Industrial Park. But if you look at the two of them, they look very similar. They're very similarly structured, and that's on purpose. And they also have in common all the different cost elements that are related, so they kind of, each one potentially benefits the other. We create a statutory TIF review committee, as the mayor spoke about, representatives of the city, the county, the planning commission, county commissioners, and all the different affected taxing jurisdictions, and then also at-large representatives. And in this instance, we actually had technically two different committees because we had a county committee and we had a city committee. But we had the superintendent of Hilldale Schools involved, superintendent of Muskogee Schools, the technology center, the county health department, EMS district, library, and then again three at-large representatives. So the good broad representation of all the different taxing entities potentially impacted. That project plan was reviewed by the TIF review committees, and the two respective committees made a recommendation to move forward with each of the respective project plans. The city's project plan has to be reviewed separately by the Planning Commission, and they plan to have an agenda item on their regular meeting next week to do so. We have to hold two public hearings. Tonight is the first, and then the second would be in 2 weeks here. And then at that time, once all of those steps have been completed, the city can consider a TIF ordinance that actually adopts the project plan and creates the tax increment district. And same for the county commissioners can consider by resolution the adoption of the project plan and creation of the TIF. So related to this, there's an existing increment district number 1, Muskogee County, and it's proposed that it be terminated. Project related to Project Faith, which was a proposed manufacturing facility back in 2014, 2015. The TIF was created in 2015, and this is the area that's just south of West 43rd Street, Smith Ferry Road, just east of Highway 69 and the railroad tracks. There's about 126-acre parcel. The project did not come to fruition. It was planned originally as a 23-year TIF. And the way it was structured, it actually was going to capture all of the ad valorem revenue for the first 12, 13 years or so through 2023. And then after that, the school district and the VOTEC portion dropped off. So it was really capturing about 12 to 15% of the tax revenue after 2023. However, nothing happened, so there is no tax revenue that's actually being captured out there. There was a little under $11 million worth of project costs. But again, the recommendation is to go ahead and terminate that TIF district because whatever might happen in the future, the existing parameters aren't going to fit that. And if it's appropriate for the county to consider a TIF district at a later date, they can structure one that's currently appropriate for whatever is proposed at that time. And you see on the map here, again, there's Highway 69 on the east side, or on the west side on the left, Highway 64 on the right-hand side. And so that's the parcel that's being considered. The new TIF districts, the proposed projects that are identified right now, although it's anticipated there might be other projects in the future. Project Heart is kind of a large one that you've probably heard some about in the Southside Industrial Park. Proposes to construct a battery-grade lithium refinery, $1.13 billion in projected capital investment, and potentially creating hundreds of new jobs in the Muskogee area. Also in the Southside Industrial Park is Project Structure, which is a new fabrication facility for an existing Muskogee business. They propose probably in excess of $20 million capital investment and expected to create an additional 15 to 20 new jobs beyond what they already have in place. And then Project Bifrost, which is over in the John T. Griffin, and so that's the subject of the county TIF project, is to construct a Bitcoin data center. They're proposing in excess of $200 million capital investment, projected to create 20 new jobs. Again, it's kind of a data farm, data center, so it's not necessarily employee intensive. The county TIF area is a 40-acre area along the east side of 24 West, south of between 43rd and 53rd. And if you look at the top left corner, so the northwest corner of that parcel, that actually is catty corner to the southeast corner of the old TIF 1. So that's kind of where they are in relationship to each other. The proposed TIF number 6, which would be the city, is, we'll give it a nice shadow on there. Just on the east and west sides of US 64, just south of 53rd Street. So again, Southside Industrial Park, with carved out area where there's some existing development, existing businesses that are located there. So this is the undeveloped area on either side of 64. And just as a larger area, you can see kind of relative to each other, the city TIF district in white, the county proposed district in orange, and then this larger square that we've drawn around that is our project area. Again, that doesn't mean that everywhere inside that red is going to be torn up with projects. We just kind of did a broad area so that we make sure we capture everything, and it just kind of keeps the map simple and clean like that. So the identified project costs, the committee working closely with the Port Authority really worked through a lot of different numbers and potential projects and gave consideration, but ultimately really tried to pare it down to what was really absolutely necessary to support these projects. And again, recognizing that these infrastructure improvements would also support future developments in the area as well. So about $18.2 million worth of road and utility improvements, including the largest being $13.5 million to basically improve 53rd Street between US 69 and 64 to an industrial grade road. About $4.5 million within the Southside Industrial Park to create a loop road and various utility improvements that would be necessary to develop that area. And then $200,000 for a shell pit road to provide construction access to 53rd. And this was kind of an important, it's a smaller project, but kind of important because it provides a source of road building material that's easily accessible and also takes some construction traffic off other roads that are being torn up by virtue of that. Then also rail infrastructure improvements. The rail line that comes just along the west side of Southside Industrial Park will be necessary for the Project Heart, for the lithium battery facility. And so this would help provide $3.2 million for the rail line rehabilitation, and then just under $3 million for the trestle bridge replacement that would be necessary. Other potential costs, there's organizational costs of putting the TIF together, anticipated administrative costs, And then potential financing costs not to exceed $27.1 million. We really don't expect it to be that large a number, but for purposes of identifying the universe of potential costs, we put that within the TIF districts. Other funding sources. Another important point to the review committee that I know the Port Authority's worked really hard. There's already in place a $1.2 million grant for the Trestle Bridge replacement project. In the process of requesting, or have been requested, nearly $5.5 million for funding assistance from the Department of Transportation to help with the 53rd Street project. Also an additional $2 million of funding assistance from the Oklahoma P3 program. And then Project Heart actually has an option for expansion of their facilities beyond the $1.1 million or $1.1 billion project. And if they were to exercise that, that would actually allow for a reduction in the scope of the Southside Industrial Park East Loop Road project from $4.6 million down to potentially as little as $1.7 million. And then additionally, there's a corollary act in the Oklahoma statutes called the Local Development and Enterprise Zone Incentive Leverage Act, which actually is right before the Local Development Act in the statute book. And that actually allows, if there is a local contribution of sales tax to a TIF district, it allows the state to actually match that contribution if there's determined to be a net state benefit. It's anticipated this project would generate significant new dollars to the state, and so it should qualify for that. It's something that we would apply for after the TIF district is created, but that would basically allow for a matching of contributed construction sales tax on material construction of the actual facilities that are built out there. So the proposed details of the TIF. TIF number 2, Muskogee County, would be a 15-year term ending not later than the end of 2039. It would capture 100% of the ad valorem increment revenues. However, 50% would be allocated to the project costs. The other 50% would be allocated back to the taxing entities. In the case of the Muskogee County TIF, that property actually overlies Muskogee Public Schools. Similarly, on the city, it's a 17-year term ending not later than 2041. It would also capture 100%, 50% of the project cost, 50% going back to the taxing entities. In that case, that overlies Hilldale School District. In both cases, it would capture 50% of whatever the new construction sales tax increment it is. And again, so half of it would go to the city and or the county, the other half would go towards project costs, and then also be potentially eligible for matching out of state funds. The revenues that are projected based on the development performance that we have anticipate about $9.54 million in projected ad valorem revenues over that 15-year term. Again, half of it going to the project cost, half of it going to the taxing entities, and Muskogee Public Schools share, based on their pro rata levy of millage compared to the other entities, they would actually get about $3.17 million of that over 15 years out of that $4.77 million. Again, if the investment is more, then those values could be higher. If the investment is less, those values could be lower, but that's kind of best projections that we have at this point. It's also anticipated about $927,000 in aggregate projected sales tax revenues between county and the state. So there'd be about $117,000 in total local tax that's generated. Half of that would go to the project, half would go to the county, and then you'd have that potential $58,500 of matching funds. So total projected revenues from TIF 2 at this point is about $4.88 million. On TIF 6, again, very similar structure, but $61.24 million is the projected ad valorem, $30.6 going back to the taxing entities, and about $20.4 of that to Hilldale School. And then, again, with much larger project valuation, you've got $15.22 million in projected sales tax revenues, state, county, and city. So the TIF revenues between the county and the city, half, would be about $3.87 million, with $540 back to the county, $3.3 million back to the city, and a potential match from the state of $3.87 million. So about $38.35 million in total revenues at this level. And I kind of skipped over this. Good question might be, why is the county considering 15 years? Why is the city considering 17 years if these are tied together? And that really relates to the projected timeline of the projects when we anticipate. The Project Heart, we think, is going to take longer to get to the point that it's actually ready to go. And it was necessary, without additional funding sources, it was necessary to have the full 15-year term to be able to generate enough revenues to actually pay for or recoup all the different project costs. But it's going to be 2-3 years down the road before we see any revenue from the first project immediately. It's going to be 4 or 5 years down the road, because you have to have a project complete, then it goes on the tax rolls, then it gets taxed, and there's a lag time. And so that extra 2 years on the city allows us to still capture 14 or 15 years worth of ad valorem revenue from the Project Heart project structure. So the oversight of TIF revenues works kind of the same on both sides. Either the city manager or county commissioner chairman will be the person in charge of implementation. They can designate as necessary to staff. The city and the county, as necessary, will approve public agreements with developers. And when I say developers, these are industrial prospects. They'll approve those public agreements as appropriate. One thing that is allowed and might come into play, probably not, is the concept of assistance in development financing. Sometimes if you have an entity, they may be willing to pay for, this is kind of the ideal situation, they may be willing to pay for the infrastructure themselves up front and then be reimbursed over time. And so the structure is in place to allow for that if that's ultimately what comes to fruition. We'll see. That's to be determined at a later date. And then infrastructure projects, as they're undertaken by the city and or the county, there will be public construction contracts subject to competitive bidding, approved by the city and the county, and then subject to annual auditing processes as any projects would be. Expected impacts on the taxing entities, and this is, again, a very important consideration of the work of the review committee is to look at this. A project like Project Heart that may create a significant number of jobs would obviously have a population impact, and that's potentially has an impact on taxing entities like the school district, technology center, and their needs. And so that's one of the primary considerations of doing a 50-50 share of those dollars. Additional development that occurs outside the TIF district would not be captured by the TIF. So if you have people that move in because they have jobs and there's additional rooftops that are built, that's all 100% that's going to the different taxing entities. But also the construction and permanent employment helps retail spending opportunities within the city and the county, helps generate new sales tax dollars. Again, I mentioned that ancillary development outside of the TIF district that may generate additional revenues. Potential impacts on business activities. Similarly, new business inside the increment district creates short-term and long-term employment opportunities, results in increased retail spending opportunities that benefits local businesses. So the remaining steps, again, March 15th, we completed the review committee process and recommendation was made with respect to terminate TIF 1 at the county, create TIF 2 at the county, and create TIF 6 at the county. This is the first public hearing tonight that we'll have with respect to all three of those. Again, I mentioned April 15th, next Monday at the Planning Commission's regular meeting. They'll consider an agenda item for recommendation. The second public hearing for each of these will be held on April 22nd during the regularly scheduled City Council meeting at 5:30 here. And then after that, it's anticipated the council will have on their agenda for consideration an ordinance to create TIF number 6 and adopt the Southside Industrial Park project plan. And it's also contemplated that the following Monday in the morning at the county commissioners' regular meeting, they'll have resolutions to terminate TIF 1 and create TIF district number 2 at that time as well. So, happy to answer any questions. Otherwise, Mayor, I'll turn it back to you. You can open the public hearings.
Thank you. Do we have any questions from this body?
Yeah, I've got a question. maybe kind of a first grader question. So as I understand it right now, that's raw land, I don't even think it's agricultural land. So the benefit, and I know the property taxes benefit more than just one entity, but let's say the property taxes today benefit Hilldale Schools, for instance, you know, $1,500 a year. I don't know. That can't be that much. After 15 years, and just a guess, you make it an under guess, but after 15 years, what would the Hilldale School District be? What would their percentage of that revenue be? Kind of, sort of.
So the annual revenue projections is 30.6 million. So take 2/3 of it as Hilldale's in any given year. As we look out into the future over that 17-year time horizon, it's about $1.5 million to $3 million in any given year. I mean, we've looked at depreciation of equipment. There's a lot of factors that go into what that is.
The first grader answer. But here's the last thing, and I'll never forget this. I remember when they were building that electric plant, OG&E, out there. And at that time, all of the Fort Gibson School was in a rock two-story building on Main Street, little bitty thing. And it didn't take them too long to come to where they are now with their facilities, and have been for some time. It's quite the benefit, and that's just to school systems.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the term, the annual tax revenue might be generated, you know, $2, $3, $4 million a year. And again, Hilldale,
much more than 15.
And Hilldale would, and Hilldale, yes, and Hilldale would be getting about 2/3 of that.
Thank you.
So,
thank you.
Yeah, it's projected to have a significant long-term impact.
Thank you. Item number 2.
Hold a public hearing regarding the proposed creation of Increment District Number 6, City of Muskogee and the Southside Industrial Park Economic Development Project Plan, or take other necessary action.
We'll now open the public hearing. Mr. Miller.
Yes, just real briefly, I know we want to cover these next items relative to the big business district. I was just giving you all the background. But I wanted to just take a time out because we need to celebrate where we're at today. I think every city in Oklahoma wishes they had $1 billion manufacturing plant coming, or looking at their city like we do. And every city wishes they were having the conversation that we were having. And so the council needs to take credit, the city needs to credit, especially give credit to us for hiring good contractors who do our industrial development at Fort Muskogee. And they're here today, we need to acknowledge them for doing all the hard work to get us here. Because we don't get opportunities like this very often, and we should acknowledge that we're in a good place, and we're having an opportunity to do a really good thing. And so I want to do that, especially with this council, some of you who are here for your last meeting. And this has happened over the last several months and years. And so, I think this is a good thing that we're doing. I'll turn it over to Matt.
So at this point, you can open the public hearings. And
we did.
Okay.
So I think at this time it would just be an appropriate motion well, actually, we don't have motions for action. These are just public hearings.
Correct. No action items.
And so
Just
if there's
public
not,
hearings.
we have public comment, I would assume on this particular one. If there's no public comment, we move on to the next.
We will now close the public hearing. Do we have any discussion of celebratory comments from this council? Item number 3.
Hold a public hearing regarding the proposed creation of Increment District Number 2, Muskogee County and the John T. Griffin Industrial Park Economic Development Project Plan, or take other necessary action.
We will now open the public hearing. Mr. Miller.
Same, if there's no one signed up from the public to speak to this. If there's any other comment, this would be a good time.
We will now close the public hearing. Do we have any comment from this body? Item number 4.
Hold a public hearing and consider approval of the proposed termination of Increment District Number 1, Muskogee County, and the project plan relating to Increment District Number 1, Muskogee County, Oklahoma, Project Faith Increment District, take other necessary action.
We will now open the public hearing. Mr. Miller.
So this one reads slightly differently. I wanted to make sure that we do need action on this one.
There is no action required
No
on
action
this one.
necessary. So again, similar to others.
We will now close the public hearing. Do we have any comments from this body? Item
Mayor,
number
just,
5.
Mayor, just one thing, just as a reminder, kind of statutory duty. The second public hearing will be held here, April 22nd, 5:30, during the city council meeting with respect to all 3 of the proposed items.
Thank you very much. Item number 5.
Consider approval of resolution number 2982, applying for and accepting grant funds in the amount of $125,000 from the Oklahoma Office of the Attorney General Opioid Abatement Board to fund its police department response and abatement activities, and authorize the city manager or his designee to sign all documents relating to the Oklahoma Opioid Abatement Board or take other necessary action.
Chief T.
Yes, Mayor and Council, this is a grant that we've applied for. NBN is helping us with. And we have to have a resolution in order to actually complete the application process.
Thank you. We have a motion to assist.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call.
Patrick Hale.
Yes.
Arlene Boyati Craig.
Yes.
Shirley Lovin Flannery.
Yes.
Tracy Hous.
Yes.
Tracy McGee.
Yes.
Alex Reynolds.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes, the item passes. Item number 6.
Discuss and provide direction to staff on a potential future general obligation bond program 2024 or take other necessary action.
Mr. Miller.
Yes, and so I do have a PowerPoint for this, but as we get ready for that, we'll talk about our general obligation bond discussions that the council has started us off with. The city council, at a special call meeting in April of 2023, gave direction to staff to pursue the option of general obligation bonds for future funding of capital needs for the city. So the city and staff representatives, including Mr. Ellis and other contractors, have helped us get ready. We had a later meeting in May of 2023 where the city council said we do want to have this further discussion, but we'd like to have the election in 2024. And so this item is designed to kick off the public input phase of the bond program, preparing the council with information and feedback from the public before the council calls for election. And so, Diana, do we have the PowerPoint? So I just need, oh, this is it. I just need to hit a button. There we go. Thank you so much. Forgive me for going a little slower. So this is where we're at. This is what I just talked about. The emphasis at the time was on deferred maintenance and facilities, which is what a lot of cities use to do their capital budgeting. And so we have a lot of buildings, a lot of facilities that we have not taken care of because of lack of funding over the years, and the council placed an emphasis on that as we look at this. The direction from the council again was to look at a bond that would create about $77 million over 25 years. The millage rate would be about 15 mils. So here are some basics. You have a handout with the same information on it. A general obligation bond is typically used to fund large public projects that don't fit into a city's current operating budget. It's a common tool. Many other cities use it, and that's how they take care of their capital needs. The GO bonds are paid yearly through property taxes, and what they can do, they can't be used to pay for salaries, but they can be used for projects. So they have to be approved by a vote of people. The funds collected can only be used for the categories of projects specified in the ballot language. So what we're working on is getting those categories approved by the council. Again, the GO bonds allow cities to finance the debt of large public projects so that we can move these things forward instead of waiting for funds to collect over time. And what we've seen is when we wait for funds to collect over time, inflation beats us to the punch. And so we end up having a hard time keeping up. So here are some common GO bond project categories, and these are just examples. Quality of life category includes the projects like improved ADA accessibility, sidewalks, park improvements, green spaces, downtown improvements, and more. Another common project category is public facilities, and that's projects that construct, improve, and maintain community spaces, buildings like police and fire stations, playgrounds, sports fields, community centers, those sorts of things. Public safety, this really goes to the ongoing public safety needs for modern police vehicles and fire vehicles and equipment. A lot of cities, this is how they do it. This is how they buy their police cars and their fire trucks, and the other gear that they need to do their job protecting us. There's public infrastructure is another category. Projects like roads and bridges, or stormwater drainage improvements and maintenance, like those kinds of things. And so those are categories, and so what we're trying to do today is walk through a little bit more about what bonds are, because we've talked about it. It's again our third public meeting, at least on this topic, but we want to make sure that we're on the same page. Again, bond proceeds can only be used by purposes approved by voters, by state statute. At least 70% of the bond funds must be identified and attached to projects and dollar amounts in the ordinance, but 100% have to be used in the categories that are identified. And so that's why the categories are so important. We don't always know the exact nature of every project, but we do know the big picture categories. And those will be on the individual propositions on the ballot. So we won't have one vote saying for $77 million. We'll have multiple votes within categories. So all bonds are sold at competitive auction and public sale. And so we've, similar to how we've done other things. Really quickly, other cities do it. They do it as part of their normal cost of doing business, the way they do business, the way they pay for their capital expenses. So here's just examples of Bartlesville, Bethany, some towns that are our size, are a little bit smaller, but larger cities, Tulsa, Oklahoma City, Broken Arrow, Catoosa. This is a common tool. And so the way that we came to that 15 mil number, which equates to about, well, first off, 15 mils is the number we came to. A monthly cost for $100,000 of property valuation would be about $12.50 a month. The reason we came to 15 mils is this: number one, that is looking at other cities about what they do. This is how other cities do what we are trying to do. This is how other cities pay for their capital investment, and this is a fairly typical millage amount. And so that's what we came up with, again, with recommendation from our consultants and experts that do this across the state. And so that's how we got to our dollar amounts, and that's how we got to our years. This would begin theoretically in the 2025 tax year, and this is where we are now. We've got a couple of different slides. So we identified the need. That's what the council did last year. They said we need to have the funding available to our city, but other cities are already taking advantage of. We don't need to have one hand behind our back when it comes to trying to do capital projects. Our city deserves to have the kind of advantages that other cities already employ. So we identify the costs and the opportunities. We determine which categories seem to work, and then we start with the public input phase, right? So that's really what we're about tonight. We want to start looking at the relative importance of GO bond categories and categories of work, and do that via a widely available survey of citizens from all wards. And so that's what we're going to ask you to do tonight, is to get that kicked off so that we get that survey data back and analyze it and use it to determine which categories of work are most important to the public. And then during our council retreat in late April, we will spend some intensive time identifying those categories and what needs to go into those categories for a public vote. In early May, the council would then take that data and have a proposed project list so that we can then go call for an election later in May. And so that's kind of our project plan. Once the election has been called, the proposed date at this point is August 27th. We would then have a very intensive public education program saying, if you vote for this, here are the things that you get. Here are the benefits to the city if this passes. And so that is where we're at. So our proposal tonight, our ask tonight, is that we look at those categories and ask to kick off that public survey with your blessing tonight to get that public input phase started.
We have one citizen signed to speak to this item tonight, Mr. Mark Hughes. If you'll come to the podium and give us your name, you will have 5 minutes.
Mark Hughes, thank you for your time. I'm just concerned about the survey. I'm concerned the survey may not be scientific. I'm concerned the survey might be too generic. In other words, are we actually going to have the chance to say, we want new water pipes that will replace, water and sewer pipes that will replace the 7,500-year-old one? Or is it going to be so generic that say, yes, I want infrastructure, and then you all decide that you want to build a new city hall, a new police station, a new jail, which we all need. But that's not giving the people the opportunity to actually give input to what they want for the GO bond. So I'm just asking the city council to take a serious look at the survey, make sure it's scientific, make sure it's specific, so we actually have a choice on what we're going to vote on, and just not a blank check that somebody else can decide for the people. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
Oh, by the way, I would like to see Mr. Kale and Ms. McGee, and then I need to speak to the city manager after this, please.
Thank you, Mr. Hughes. Do we have any questions from this council? Otherwise, my motion will be to direct staff to prepare a survey that reaches the broadest range of Muskogee residents as possible, and then assemble that data so that we can come back, or that the next council can come back and have a little conversation about how to proceed. That's my motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Further discussion? Roll call.
Patrick Kell?
Yes.
Harlan Boyati Craig?
Yes.
Shirley Hilton Flannery?
Yes.
Tracy Hughes? Tracy McGee?
Yes.
Alex Reynolds?
Yes.
James Stout?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed?
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes, item passes. Item number 7.
Consider approval to purchase a 2024 Altech articulating over center aerial lift truck for the forestry division of the Parks and Recreation Department for the amount of $223,952, utilizing cooperative purchase pricing under Sourcewell contract number 110421-ALT, or take other necessary action.
Mr. Ewing.
Sure, thank you. Hello again. The current aerial lift truck that we use in the Parks and Recreation Department was put into service in 1994. So for 30 years, that truck has performed admirably in our forestry duties, our Garden of Lights endeavors, and every kind of thing that you can imagine that arose where we needed to be up in the air. Well, it's now having some serious problems, keeping it operational and keeping it safe. We're losing a lot of money, and we're losing a lot of man hours of productivity as well. Over the last year, I think it's been down 3 months out of the 12. So it's tough to get parts for now. In fiscal 24, a new unit was budgeted in our capital outlay, and the problem is, for these units, the waiting list is a year, 2 years, even longer at times. So there was a company in Muncie, Indiana, that canceled out their big order with Altech. And so knowing that we were desperate for a truck, they contacted me and said, we have a truck for you if you would like it. It is the same height, same working height as our existing Altech model, and the chassis on it, the truck itself, is a Freightliner M2, which is the truck that's currently in use for our sanitation department. So our fleet already knows how to work on it. They have parts, they can service it, and so it's a great fit. And so they've offered this unit to us and in a Sourcewell cooperative purchasing contract. And the purchase amount is funded by our capital outlay budget. So staff would recommend approval for this purchase in the amount of $223,952. And I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Ewing. Do we have any questions, or do we have a motion from this body?
Move for approval.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call.
Patrick Kell?
Yes.
Carly Boyd Craig.
Yes.
Shirley Hilton Flannery.
Yes.
Tracy Hughes.
Yes.
Tracy McGee.
Yes.
Alex Reynolds. James Stout.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed. Mayor Marlon Holman.
Yes, the item passes. Item number 8.
Discuss and provide direction to staff regarding the revised industrial development contract with the Port of Muskogee for fiscal year 2024-2025, and take other necessary action.
Thank you. This is my item. Dr. Hughes, Councilor Reed, myself, and some others at times have been in discussions with Port Authority, Port Muskogee staff, from about the fall of last year until this very time. The purpose of these revisions to the industrial development contract is to give the port more leverage in terms of what they need to do to develop land and be more attractive to other companies when they seek to be in the city of Muskogee. If all of us would take a deep breath and appreciate all that has been happening in terms of industrial development, we are not at the phase any longer where we can say, wait 2 weeks, wait 3 weeks, wait 4 months, wait 5 months. There are a list of industries and companies ready to come to us at the drop of a dime. And we need to fix the bureaucracy in a way so that the port can work with more flexibility to do things that need to be done with the revisions that they have provided in the industrial contract. I'm going to invite Port Director Kimber Scott to come to the podium. My laundry list that I wrote is probably longer than she would want to hear, and I'm certain that she could summarize it in minutes compared to me keeping us here until late hours of the night. Jeff Underwood is coming to stand in her place to talk about the significance of what we are talking about doing tonight. Mr. Underwood.
Yes, thank you to this body. Really appreciate it. And you talked about, Mr. Miller, I mean, what it takes to really move economic development forward. And it takes all of us working together to do that, whether it's the city, public works, to be able to have the infrastructure we need, water, sewer, zoning, and these things, the county and our educational institutions. And we have this momentum in Muskogee over the last 24 plus months. And so we want to be able to keep that going. I'll just give you an example, and really, we just wanted to take this agreement that we have, which had since 2011, and be able to really bring it up to date and really highlight a couple of key areas. And most of this language is pretty comparable to what was in that. One of the areas of difference is the development of a capital development fund. And the reason that is important is because this past couple of years we focused on site readiness, and we know from these site selectors coming into Muskogee, sitting down with us and saying, what you need to do is have these sites ready. That's where we're at in the nation. Folks are not going to come unless you're there with the infrastructure. And so we've done a lot of that work. We've talked about Southside Industrial Park here tonight. One of the things we did is we went to the state over the last couple of years and said we need to bring City Extension of Stewart out there. We're able to get $1.96 million worth of ARPA funding to be able to do that, to support industrial development. But one of the challenges we have as a Port Authority doing this in partnership and on behalf of the City of Muskogee is say, we're ready to go out to bid for this project. Well, the way state grants work, if you're familiar, is you actually have to go ahead and pay that, and then you get reimbursement. And so that creates a little bit of a gap and a challenge in one area for us when we're trying to do this site readiness to be able to have that, put that cash up front to be able to get reimbursed. So being able to have a capital development fund allows us to pull from that. So number one, we're not slowing down progress. We're able to keep moving forward, whether that's with extension of different infrastructure, developing a master plan to be able to recruit these businesses into Muskogee. And so that is certainly the primary objection there with these changes.
Do you have any questions for Mr. Underwood? Hearing none from this body, I believe an appropriate motion would be that we accept the revisions provided by the industrial development contract, adding opportunity for this body to be able to have discussions with Port Muskogee as we move forward with it, also building in a timeline that will allow for them to give us, this body rather, monthly reports if necessary with any financial data that they need to provide. That would be my motion.
Second.
Mayor, if I may.
You may.
Katrina, as our city attorney, has not yet reviewed all those revisions. I don't know what her discussion may be. And the contract is not before you today. So I would ask that we take direction to staff to consider all those revisions and bring it back to you and make sure that you are looking at that contract whenever you are approving it, and that our city attorney has had a chance to review it.
Mr. Mayor, I have a question. Have we provided earlier these documents to staff to take a look at?
I think we have.
Yes.
How long ago has that been?
It's the end of January.
And
Go ahead.
I have reviewed
these documents, and we have some serious issues with some of the parts of it there we cannot agree to.
When were we aware of the serious issues?
Probably within the last week or two. This contract, the current contract that we have does not expire until the end, I think it's the end of June, and in June to be signed before July 1st.
I might alter your proposal by setting a date fast soon that we complete this issue and move on.
Yeah, because this council, along with previous councils, have been waiting for this moment. And now we're gonna pass it on to another council, and hope they're properly educated, hope they understand. And I think what we need to do, let me give this some thought, because I'm not agreeing to this, about going on and on and on. I think the only other appropriate motion is to direct staff to have a finalized contract for the city manager's signature no later than 2 weeks from today.
I'll second that, if that's a motion.
No other exceptions.
Because we've been we've been doing this, going back and forth for several months.
Several months? I'll amend my motion if that's the pleasure of the body. Yes?
Yes.
No?
Yes. Could I just be clear? So
Yes, Ms. McGee.
we're giving the port an opportunity to start a fund so that they can have money to move forward, right? I just want to make sure that I understand. Thank you.
Are we clear on my amended motion?
Yes.
We have an amended second. Roll call.
Patrick Hale.
Yes.
Carolyn Boyati Craig.
Yes.
Shirley Hilton Flannery.
Yes.
Tracy Hughes.
Yes.
Tracy McGee.
Yes.
Alex Reynolds.
Yes.
James Stout.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Green.
Yes.
Mayor Arnold Coleman.
Yes. Item number, where are we? 9.
Discuss human trafficking and the dropping off of homeless people in Muskogee, and consider establishing a committee to address these issues and provide further direction to staff or take other necessary action.
Thank you, this is my item. We've been having this conversation in Muskogee for years, and now it's come to a head. I was at the Dollar General on the west side of town, and I saw a vehicle drop off 2 homeless people. They got out of the vehicle, were very folly and jolly, went into the Dollar General, held up the line for almost 30 minutes, ruffling through their things, trying to find a debit card that they couldn't produce. That's a small example of what we see going on in Muskogee right now. Now, of course, those who are ideologues watching this tonight will say the term human trafficking takes on different meanings. And it does take on different meanings and different definitions for different individuals. But our goal on tonight is that we target those entities or bodies that are dropping off people in Muskogee because they don't want to be bothered. That's not fair to the 37,000 residents that we have here in the city of Muskogee. Those of us who have been in Muskogee long enough can almost identify the not maybe even 10 Muskogee residents who are actually homeless in Muskogee. All of those others are being brought here from other places because other places don't want to be bothered. That's not fair to our tax base. We have 37,000 residents who pay taxes, who are very happy, according to all of the presentations we've seen tonight, to help other Muskogee residents. But it's not fair when the tax burden is shifted to us from Northwest Arkansas, from North Texas, from other parts of the city. That's not fair at all. So, it's reads a little differently than what I wanted. I want us to take action on tonight, and if it's through establishing a committee, I don't want the committee to live forever. The committee, sometimes committees hold up progress. Those of you who go to church, you know what I'm talking about. We have to be in a position as a city that we take the action that we need to address this issue now. Many people get dropped off in Muskogee because they think we have a homeless shelter. We do not have a homeless shelter. We have a gospel rescue mission. You have to go, say your prayers, eat your vitamins, read your scripture, say kumbaya, and if you don't do those things, you can't stay at the mission. And that's not what we have set up for our community in the city of Muskogee. So my motion is going to be, because of the way this is written, to establish a committee to address this issue, and that the committee be populated by the next council meeting, which is, what, April 22nd? Three-man committee. I don't think we need more than three. Do we think we need more than three? No, Deputy?
Three's good.
I think three is good.
Mayor, for clarification purposes, we have a city committee established. Are you wanting council members established?
We're going past that because I don't know, do we know about that committee?
But it's a city committee.
No.
What is
No, we want a committee that's got some teeth that can make some things happen. And I think that maybe the other committee that's existing could be a subcommittee to the parent body that makes this happen. I appreciate the committee. We thank God for all that they have done. But I saw 2 more people dropped off since we've had that committee. And I'm sure other people have seen other people dropped off since we had those committees. And so we got to put some aggression with this. Otherwise, we're going to get to a situation, Port Muskogee doing everything they can to bring industry here, and we're going to go past 50% of home ownership to possibly 51% of vagrancy versus home ownership. That's not going to put us in a good situation where we're trying to tell younger families, live, work, and play in Muskogee, with the homeless people dropped off from Northwest Arkansas, right across the street from your house. That's what I think. It's my last night. I can think that. Understand the motion? Ms. Bodenham?
Yes, sir.
Roll call. Oh, do we have a second? I'm so sorry.
Is the motion that the committee's gonna be council? Is that what we're understanding?
Let's talk about that as a body. I don't think it needs to all be council. I think, for one, we need a person that's from Wish, because they deal with this every day. Let's just say we need to have the committee populated with those entities who are in direct correlation and interaction with those individuals who are indigent and have those needs that are considered homeless.
So what is this committee that we supposed to already have in place? Who does that entail?
That entails a city attorney, staff member, that entails police. We've got a group that works with this situation. We go clean out homeless camps. We help with Project Reunite.
So that committee,
So if I may, go ahead, Mayor.
that committee, Deputy Mayor, to me sounds like they're tasked with taking action after the fact. I want this committee to take action and be proactive, to come up with policies and procedures to stop the illegal trafficking of homeless people to Muskogee.
Most definitely.
That's what my thoughts.
Second.
You ready?
Maybe recognize.
Yes.
I just want to reiterate, I interact with a lot of the homeless that's dropped off here because basically our public library is a day center for the homeless now. Okay, I mean, that's the facts. Families are afraid to use it. I have a lot of traffic that goes by my clinic, so it does affect my business. And a lot of these people are not from here. A lot are not from Oklahoma. They're not. But with this committee as a council, we have to be ready to take some action on a lot of these properties that a lot of homeless people are setting camp up in. We've kind of had some action with this before, we keep putting it away, but we need to be ready to take care of that because that's causing a lot of problem too. Because a lot of these people that get here, there's so many properties that are empty, they just sit up there and they're there for months until it catches fire.
Mayor, if I may.
You may.
So, just to elaborate, the committee that we do have is an internal committee, and it is to deal with the issues as they are on the ground, and we have a team that does a very good job of communicating between police, fire, code enforcement, legal, to try and deal with the issues as they exist. What I think, Mayor, what it may be a good suggestion is I think what you're trying to do is set a policy and a direction for how we deal with homeless, and I think that a committee of council members that has those outside people, has resources to come to the meetings and give them advice. Because at the end of the day, what we are looking for, I believe, is a policy of how the city wants to do it moving forward, and you all are the policy makers. So that's why I would suggest that if there's a committee of 3, that it would be council members, and that those people you identified earlier would be the resources that committee relies on.
I think what I'm willing to do is amend my motion to have 2 council people, but 3 people from outside. Because I want the council to take direction from those people who are dealing with those people every day. So I'm willing to say 2 councilors, but then 3 individuals as identified in those categories that we provided.
I'll second that.
Further discussion. We have a motion and a second.
If I could, real quick.
Yes.
as someone who's real close to the Gospel Rescue Mission and sees a lot of the things that are going on there, something this group could work on as well is a day program. Our biggest problem with the rescue mission is some of the things. It's not a problem, it's a good organization, but they're a night program only, they're not a day program. So as Mayor Coleman said, you can come in there and you got to do what you have to do to actually stay, but as soon as they feed you breakfast, you're out on the streets. We do not have a day program. We have to have a day program. Since there is no program, they just come right up into the vacant buildings, all the vacant lots around there, all over the city, and are creating a major problem for our organizations that are trying to rebuild downtown. The council can help with that by making sure any night programs that are approved in the future must also be accompanied with a day program, or very quickly come up with another organization or encourage the mission to also have a day program. That would be a big answer for this right now and help with the existing problem.
Counselor, I visited about 2 weeks ago, and I don't know what kind of a day program you're looking for, but every day they've got some kind of class. Maybe it's an hour or 2 hour class, but certainly not all day. And really, part of the reason I bring this up is I was thoroughly impressed with that organization. Great organization. They do really good work.
The organization is, I'm not questioning that, it's
No, I know.
the night only, and then there are some things they can do in the daytime, but a lot of the folks are just wandering all over the city, and it is difficult, very difficult.
Thank you for those comments on tonight.
Working with them through this committee would be good.
We have a motion and a second. And I'm sure when those committees meet, they'll take all of those other comments into advisement. Roll call.
Patrick Kell?
Yes.
Martin Boyata Craig?
Yes.
Charlie Hilton Flannery?
Yes.
Tracy Hous? Tracy McGee?
Yes.
Alex Reynolds?
Yes.
Jamie Stout?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed?
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman?
Yes, the item passes. Item number 10.
Discuss assisting residents who are descendants of those interred in the historic Black Cemetery, cleaning the cemetery, and consider establishing a committee or take other necessary action.
The subject cemetery that we're talking about is the Lowe's Cemetery in Reeves Edition. It is a cemetery that we believe is largely, if not mostly or all, populated by the descendants of African Americans. There are even suggestions that that may be the cemetery where Bass Reeves is buried. I just believe that every person should have dignity in their grave, and certainly what we have in the Lowe's Cemetery is less than dignity, and that's not the fault of the city or anyone here tonight, but we are tasked with being certain that all of our people have the proper access to their ancestors, and right now as that cemetery stands, it does not. I can remember Dennis Wilhite several years ago approached several people in the county about cleaning up Booker T. Washington Cemetery. There were veterans, there were other people of color and different nationalities whose graves could not even be accessed behind the brush. And what we want is a similar type of partnership where the city of Muskogee can come up with policy or direction where they can partner with those people who own this particular cemetery, Lowe's in Reeves Edition, and come up with a plan of action where we have a city-private partnership where we can clean that cemetery and do what we can to address this issue. So my motion is going to be to direct staff to come back with a plan of action that addresses the needs to clean up the Lowe's Cemetery in Reeves Edition in order to give those families proper access to their relatives and ancestors who are buried in that community.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes. We have a motion first. That's my motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Now, Mr. Carroll.
Thank you. My partner and I would be tickled to help with that committee.
Thank you.
We would love to do a large number of unknown grave markers if needed. and maybe a single large monument marker talking about the historic history or what have you would be tickled to help.
Thank you, Mr. Bill.
Marlon?
Yes, Mr. Reynolds.
If I can be recognized.
Yes.
In speaking to Lawrence Rex, the gentleman who's got the 3 books of the death certificates that's behind a lot of this, and some of the diagrams that he's showing me, there seems to be more than Lowe's. It seems to be like maybe 3 or 4 different cemeteries all there, right next to, if not adjacent to each other. You might want to expand that from the word Lowe's to that area maybe, because there are other names.
Harding said.
Yes, there are more than 2, I believe.
Okay. Is contiguous correct?
Yes.
So my motion would be, Lowe's and contiguous properties that may be impacted the same. Does that make sense? Okay. We have a motion and a second. Further discussion? Roll call.
Patrick Hale.
Yes.
Carlin Boyd Craig.
Yes.
Shirley Hilton Flannery.
Yes.
Tracy Hous. Tracy McGee. Yes. Alex Reynolds.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes, the item passes. Item number 11.
Discuss and give possible direction to staff on dedicating a portion of future special project funds for museum operations or take other necessary action.
We've had the opportunity over the last several years under Mr. Miller's direction to every October, November have excess funds to be able to serve as a special projects fund for the council to decide how those funds should be allocated. All I'm asking for in item number 11 is that we give direction to staff to come up with a plan that considers using the special projects fund to help fund our museums and also look at other funding mechanisms that may give them a natural increase over time so that our museums don't have to struggle every year with wondering how they're going to survive with a flat budget. So, Ms. Bodenhammer, I don't know if we need a motion or can we just consider that direction to staff?
That would be direction to staff, Mayor.
Does everyone understand? We're not going to make a motion, we're just going to give direction to staff to come up with a plan as said.
Can we give it like a time period, like a 60
Well,
day,
we'd have
30
to,
day?
we would need to do it within the context of our budget, which we're doing right now. So yeah, the 60 days would be fine.
60 days, we all okay with 60 days? Item number 12.
Consider approval of the appointment of Deputy Mayor Derek Reed to the Eastern Oklahoma Development District Board, EODD, to fill the unexpired term of Councilor Carlin Boyd Craig, beginning April 1st, 2024, and expiring on June 30th, 2025, or take other necessary action.
Deputy Mayor is the senior member of the council now. He has served only 2 years longer than I have. And under better conditions, I might have given him a race for his money, but I'm going to let him win. And so he has the knowledge and relationship with several of those individuals on the EODD board. I think it is more than appropriate to appoint him to fulfill the unexpired term of Ms. Pauline Boyd Craig, who has served that body correctly and with due diligence. That's my motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second on item number 12. Roll call.
Patrick Hale.
Yes.
Carlin Boyd Craig.
Yes.
Shirley Hilton Flannery.
Yes.
Tracy Hous. Tracy McGee.
Yes.
Alex Reynolds.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes. 8:59 a.m. tomorrow, I come out of office. Patrick Hale will be sworn in at 9 a.m. Not ceremonially, he will be sworn in as the 51st mayor of the city of Muskogee. So as my gift back to families, starting at 6:30 a.m. in front of the Muskogee Civic Center, I will sign proclamations in the name of every child who comes through with their parent and designate tomorrow, April 9th, as that child's day. And so we're asking those who are watching to please spread that message to others, that we will give our proclamations in your child's name, and that child will have April 9th declared as their day in the city of Muskogee. Please come through between 6:30 a.m. and 8:59 a.m. because after 8:59 a.m., I am no longer the mayor of the city of Muskogee. So let me say before I hit the gavel, I don't know if I've ever used this gavel, it's brand new, it may break. But let me say before I leave on tonight, certainly from the bottom of my heart, I've had the ride of a lifetime, being the 50th mayor when I turned 50 and the first African-American mayor to serve in the city of Muskogee. You all have been wonderful to deal with, from the city manager to the council to those in the public view. Whether we agreed or not, I think our commonality all focused around the fact that we all love Muskogee. We may have different ways of expressing it, but certainly I believe that we have Muskogee's best interests at heart. So all of you who have watched me or tolerated me for these last 4 years, thank you very much, and this meeting is adjourned.